Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about American politics, and I want to talk about Jerry Seinfeld's Unfrosted film. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant film, and the second most valuable film of. Oh, actually, I could say this right now. Uh, Unfrosted is the most valuable film of. There's so many good movies. I want to say Unfrosted is one of the top three most valuable films. Oh, it is. It's the most valuable film of 2024. And you're like, wait a second, Scott. Didn't you say that Civil War was the most valuable film of 2024? No. Civil War is the most valuable film of the 2020s. This entire decade, right? So Civil War is a more important film than Unfrosted, but Unfrosted is an incredibly important film. And you're like, wait a second, are you talking about that Pop-Tart movie that Jerry Seinfeld did? Yes. So, one, there is an astounding amount of political speech in Unfrosted. So, if you're, if you're listening to this American politics video with Scott Garibay, you're deep in the weeds on politics, right? And we care about politics. And also, I want to compliment you, right? Because we're going to talk about, let me tell you what this video is about. We're going to talk about Unfrosted. And the reason Unfrosted is so important is it's teaching American truth, and it's teaching American history, in my humble opinion, in the only way left. This is the only way left to teach history, okay? All right, let's get into this, okay? So first of all, everything I'm about to tell you that essentially, yeah, ooh. All right. I consider myself an intellectual elite, and I want to have conversations among intellectual elites. I got into a little bit of I got into a difficult conversation with somebody because they're like, are you talking about regular people? And I was like, oh, no. I'm just talking about the politically engaged, the intellectual elites, right? So I consider intellectual elites people who care very deeply about art, culture, politics, right? And actually, you don't have to care about, you got to care about two out of three. Two out of three. You don't even have to care about all three. I believe I do genuinely care. I believe I check all the boxes. I'm a complete box checker. Like, I am politically engaged, I am culturally engaged, and I am artistically engaged, right? And I cannot tell you, and the reason why we're talking today is most people are not. It is astonishing how shockingly unengaged most people are today. It is incredible, right? And so basically, and and I really want to thank you for being here, because where are people right now? Okay, especially, and let's just talk about political engagement, right? Right now, no, this is not a joke. Easily 80% of the country is not politically engaged. That might be 90%, right? And that means they do not care about politics. They do not follow politics, and they think it's a waste of time. And they will castigate you for even bringing it up in discussion. There's like people are like, oh, you don't talk about politics, and there's some other subject that you're not supposed to talk about in polite society. Yeah, but I break those rules constantly. That's why I don't remember them, because I've literally set them out of my brain, And so politics and religion. The other is the other. That's the other one. I break those rules absolutely constantly, right? Like, the kid polite society. Yes, that's a good point. So politics. So most people are massively unengaged when it comes to politics, right? That's very real and significantly important. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a heads up there, right? Next, let's talk it through. So you have these people who are politically engaged, right? Actually, most people are not 80 to 90% of Americans are not politically engaged. 10% are politically engaged horrifically politically engaged, in that what they want is horrific, right? They want, like, on the left right now, what is the worst thing that the left is doing? The worst thing the left is doing right now is they are demanding celebration of evil. I'm watching a show right now. It's called The Girls on the Bus, right? And the protagonist of this show is saying that press objectivity is so important that the protagonist of the show slept with. This show is it's a skin of a book about the women who went on Hillary Clinton's bus, right? And the women, and they were saying, and actually the reporters, not the women, the reporters who were on Hillary Clinton's bus, they were so in the bag for Hillary that they were routinely sharing secrets to help Hillary win. This was the press, right? And sleeping a lot with many relationships between reporters and Hillary staff. It was almost ubiquitous, right? Like, and that's what the show is about. And then the show is saying, you, the public, need to accept this. How dare you have shamed us for being so unobjective that we were literally sleeping with the people we were supposed to be giving you an objective look with. It is, so on the left side, the worst of this is like the point where like they demand that the most evil behavior be celebrated, not tolerated, celebrated, right? Like this, like it was abominable. It is, and you look at this and you're like, you don't even have any concept of the word evil. And they don't acknowledge the word evil. And now they've arrived at a point where they're not like saying, hey, evil's okay. They're like, you, the public, need to celebrate this evil. That's abominable. It is absolutely abominable, right? So that's the worst on the left side. They're politically engaged, but their goals are horrific. And on the right, you have like, here we go, Civil War, right? The Jesse Plemons character, that is very real. Hyper prejudice, hyper right wing, hyper armed, right? People who are very eager to throw down, right? They're like, let the bodies drop. Like, and that's on the right, and it's real. It is very real. Hyper prejudice, hyper armed, hyper right militia members. It's very real. I live in Pennsylvania. I can tell you right now, this is a real thing. This is not a Hollywood construct. Jesse Plemons was not playing a character. That is a template for, not kidding, 5 to 25 million people in America, right? And you're not completely aware of it. I can tell you right now, it's very much happening, right? So it's, and so you have these people who are politically engaged, and they're like, oh, we're going to overthrow the system, man. We're either going to do it by culturally turning the entire nation evil, right? Or we're going to do it by literally dropping bodies, right? Like, it's just on the right. It's astounding, right? In my humble opinion, okay? So you have all this going on, right? So how do you, like, where do you land in all this, right? So, and then you and me, we still believe that our vote counts. Do you know how few people believe that anymore? Virtually no one believes that. No one believes that your vote counts. I listen to Slate Political Gabfest, and they will say, like, these guys have dedicated their lives to politics, and they're like, there's like seven states are going to decide. Your vote doesn't matter. This is all they do, right? And they routinely tell people, your vote doesn't matter, right? Like, it's astounding. It is absolutely astounding. So you and I are the last vestige of good in this country, the politically engaged who are engaged because we care about the political process, right? And we genuinely care about the political process, and we're here for it, right? We're remaining informed, we're remaining engaged, we're ready to vote, we're deciding, right? We're not just pulling a straight ticket, we're deciding, right? And it's pretty astounding, right? Like, I will vote for President Trump if he chooses Vivek Ramaswamy. He doesn't choose Vivek Ramaswamy, I don't know where I'm going to vote, right? I'm still deciding, right? And so it's pretty astounding. Let's talk about, so one, kind of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole there. This all relates to Unfrosted. Let's get into Unfrosted. What is Unfrosted? Unfrosted is extremely important, right? Because it's speaking to the intellectual elites. It's speaking to the people who are like you and me, who are still deciding and still politically engaged without Cthulhu-level horror agendas behind them, right? And that's on the right and the left. There are terrible, terrible, terrible people on the right and the left, right? You and me, We're trying to stay in the middle and trying to stay politically engaged and not adopt these horror agendas, right? So what's important about Unfrosted? So Unfrosted, Jerry Seinfeld brings this thing forward, and he goes, do you know that in America, in the heartland, in the 50s, Kellogg and Post went to battle over breakfast, right? And they actually dumped millions and millions of dollars. They established the future of advertising not for America, for the globe. They established how food would be distributed, made for the globe. And like all this, and we're talking about breakfast, right? But you could apply this to any industry, right? It's truly astounding. And the reality is America, capitalism matters, right? There's this huge discussion right now. People are like, oh, well, what if we were just communists? What if we were just socialists? Oh, there's a difference between those two things. Is there? Please, right? And we're saying, no, capitalism matters. And so Jerry Seinfeld does this movie, and this thing is American truth and American history. And you're like, wait a second, Scott, this couldn't possibly be American truth and American history. Melissa McCarthy's got people building building Pop-Tarts the way they built, vessels for the moon landing. You're right. That was boisterous. That was, flamboyant, right? And you're like, wait a second, Scott. There's a creature in this thing that is a mixture of sea monkeys and raviolis. Yes, that's in the film, right? But the reality is, and why are they there? And here's the answer: you cannot get people to listen to history anymore, right? Documentaries, who watches them, right? Books, who reads them? But believe it or not, millions and millions and millions and millions of people are going to watch Jerry Seinfeld's history film. And get this, I think the history depicted in Unfrosted is actually more accurate than the history depicted in Napoleon. I saw them both, right? And more useful, and a celebration of something, right? Jerry Seinfeld's Unfrosted is a celebration of American breakfast, a celebration of American competition, a celebration of American capitalism, right? A celebration of our moon. Get this. Do you know the first international person in the world is going to go to the moon soon? You know how they're going to get there? They're going to go with the Americans. Like, literally, the first non-American on the moon will be taken there by Americans. That's how hard we ball, right? And Unfrosted is really there's parts in the film where they were like, oh, the Post lady was part of the feminist movement and really proved that women could throw down in commerce, and all the women that work today, right, owe her a debt, right? You might not acknowledge it, but you owe it, right? Astounding. The other thing is Thurles Ravencroft. Hugh Grant's in this film, and they're like, hey, the guy who did Tony the Tiger's voice was a ridiculous, in the weeds Shakespeare level, Oscar award winning actor. And I'm like, yeah, that's cute. Thurles Ravenscroft don't even sound like a real name. Thurles Ravencroft was a real dude. And every single voice actor owes their entire career to him today, right? It is astounding. There is so much truth and so much history in this movie. And what's wild is Jerry Seinfeld's doing it. It's stealth. The only important messages today must be delivered through stealth. Do you understand that? People will not, we've reached it. The Bible actually warned about this. A time where people will not listen to wisdom and truth. We're there right now, right? The only way you can get people to learn about American capitalism, American history, American heartland, American breakfast, American anti-communism, right, is if it's wrapped in chocolate. The pill has to be wrapped in chocolate, right? And we have to eat it up the way you put, your dog's pills in peanut butter. Jerry Seinfeld is getting to hundreds of millions. I think hundreds of millions of people will watch this, right? Do you understand that? hundreds of millions of people will watch this, and they will get American truth, in my humble opinion, and they will get American history, in my humble opinion. In the only way that is left, the only way it is possible to deliver these truths anymore. That's astounding. That is absolutely astounding. So hats off to Jerry Seinfeld. And he made his stealth check, man. He made his stealth check, right? This is the only way you can get the truth out, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.